and start streaming straight to Twitch. All right, Twitch. This is episode 1 of the Nerd Speak. I'm JBrad. No one knows me yet, but maybe you'll know me eventually. And this is my co-host Jay.
What's up?
He's been a longtime friend of mine. We talk about this stuff all the time, and I figured, you know what, why not talk to the world about it, and just so we can get our voice out there and just have some fun, have some enjoyable memories, and just talk about nerdy crap. Mm-hmm. So Jay, why don't you say a little bit about yourself? Maybe like I don't know, your favorite hero or your favorite villain, or even like your favorite book.
Okay, I'm Jay. Favorite hero? I mean, I've always been partial to the Batman. Like that's just something from childhood. Also Spider-Man, of course. I'd love to see a buddy cop film of Batman and Spider-Man solving crimes together. It'd be like Rush Hour 7.
Oh yeah. Gosh, that would be hilarious. Like, just the straight man Batman would play to the consistent quip of Spider-Man. I don't know how that would actually mesh.
Oh, it'd be a clash, and it'd be amazing. But I'd watch it.
I feel like that needs to be the first animated DC Marvel crossover.
Well, you know, there was one dude on YouTube. I can't remember the name of his channel, but he used to do like these animated bits with action figures and everything, and that was one of the running gigs on it, was that Spider-Man always wanted to do like it was After Hours. Spider-Man and Batman would do like buddy cop stuff every now and then, and it was amazing. And ever since that, I've always wanted to see that happen. Favorite villain? I am very, very partial to I've always liked Doctor Doom.
Okay.
He's just so fantastic because he's kind of nuanced. Like, he's definitely a villain, but he's also like the leader of this country, and it's an interesting balance to see.
Okay.
See that. And then favorite book, probably thus far, Confessions by Augustine. Because I'm a nerd.
Okay. Yeah. And you're really digging the theology route right now.
Oh yeah. I'm always reading philosophy and theology because, again, I'm insufferable as a human being.
I can confirm that to be quite true. All right, so I thought we'd start off today with something a little simple, and for episode 1, I really thought that a good place to start is where we started. And so, what would you say would be the films that made you who you are today, or the video games, or the books, or just what made you into the nerd that you are today, and how do you go from that? And so, like, I mean, I can start because I've been thinking about this for a little while, and I gotta say, as much as I adore like Jurassic Park and Star Wars, it's gotta be that first Indiana Jones. Because it just gave me that love.
And it's one of those things, man. Gosh, Raiders of the Lost Ark is one of those movies I don't think you ever forget the first time you saw.
Oh, no. I must have been like 6 years old, and I was just glued to that screen. I was already like a history buff, and I would play like Medal of Honor. I absolutely love those games because most of my history knowledge comes from video games, and back then it was legit knowledge. And so, because I mean they would walk you through actual battles of that you would have to play. And when they were like, oh, these are Nazis, I was like, oh, those Nazis, they need to die now. and it was a full-on hatred for the villains immediately. I had been going to church for a little while then, and I had already started asking questions. So I was already, influenced a little bit by what they were talking about, the Ark of the Covenant and the Jews and the whole storyline. And so I was hooked immediately. I mean, Harrison Ford was just outstanding. I wanted to be Harrison Ford in that movie.
You can't beat the charisma and the like gruffness of Indiana Jones. Like, he is the quintessential adventurer like archetype.
Yeah, and I mean, when you look back at what Raiders is and like the history behind how they talked about Marion and Indy's original relationship.
Yeah.
It's really weird. If you haven't done that, actually go online and look it up.
Or don't, because you may not
ruin.
Know.
Yeah, you may ruin the movie for you. But I'm not going to spoil that here, just in case it does.
Hey, Indiana Jones is the dude who made having a bullwhip cool.
yeah, and like he didn't care who he killed. Like, I mean, even that moment when he is on the cliff with the rocket launcher in his arms, and he just screams down, "I will blow you all to hell." And the rival guy, I think it was Bullock. I could be wrong, but I think it was Bullock. Because they're the exact same coin, just different sides, and he just can't bring himself to destroy the artifact, let alone the woman he loves, let alone countless men who are just following orders, whether or not they believed in what they're doing or not. But he just couldn't bring himself to destroy the artifact. And only now do I understand his character and his motivations and understanding why he didn't do that. Because at the time I was just like, yeah, do it. Kill the Nazis. But I mean, just glued to the screen. I mean, I thank my dad for just putting me in front of that TV when I was that little to enjoy that movie. Because now I can look back and just love it so much.
So for me, the movie that made me a nerd was Empire. Growing up, I never watched the Star Wars movies in the proper order until I was older. Empire was my father's favorite Star Wars movie, and by the time I was 5 or 6, like at least like once every couple months, my dad would sit me and my brother in front of the TV and be, "We're gonna watch that Empire Strikes Back right now."
So good, and I mean, it does really speak to like your philosophical nature. Because, like, I mean, even at the start of the show, you're talking about, like, how much you love to read philosophy. Well, Empire is easily number one if... No. You know, it's number one. I was going to say it might be a close two with Episode 8. But Episode 8 was so, like, drenched in philosophy that it lost its way, I think. We can talk about that eventually.
It's like the political posturings of the prequel series.
Yeah, absolutely,
like, It's like, cool, we get it. There's a Senate. I didn't need to watch C-SPAN.
C-SPAN. Fictionalized. What? And it's still boring.
Space C-SPAN.
Yeah. But yeah, so like Empire really just like dipped its toe in enough philosophy to get people to going, "Oh, that's a really good question. That's really awesome." Like how they're dealing with the light, the dark, the perceptions. And it did follow up, I think, really, really well in Jedi.
Oh, yeah. Well, and on top of that, like, as a set piece in a film, Hoth, in my mind, is one of the untouchables.
Okay.
Of, like, film big action set pieces. Because you have the rebels know that they can't beat the Empire in this fight. That they are literally just trying to hold them back as long as they can for the transports to get out. And watching everything just sort of fall apart.
Yeah.
And they're not able to get everyone out the way that they had planned. Watching Vader and tall as hell in that stark black suit walking through the white halls of the Hoth base, like, it's menacing, and it gives you a great sum up of how that film is going to play out, because at the end of the film you're left with uncertainty. Uncertainty is the theme. Absolutely.
And just with the good guys losing. Like, I mean, I'm a young guy. Like, I can't imagine what a 2-3 year long wait would be like after finishing Empire. Because, like, as a kid growing up in the 90s, my dad would just pop in the next VCR. Pop the next tape into the VCR and I'd be like, cool, I get to finish this.
You have resolution
right
immediately.
And you know, actually, I think Star Wars might be one of the things that has started the binge watching craze.
Oh, totally.
Because as in our generation, like it's really popular to binge watch. But I think throwing in all 3 Star Wars movies in a day, throwing in all 3 Indiana Jones, throwing in Jurassic Park, throwing in heck, as you move into the 2000s, Lord of the Rings into the DVD player.
You know, we're talking extended edition Lord of the Rings.
Well, I mean, that's a full day, and I've done that many times.
I have too, but it's an undertaking. Oh man, I've got 15 hours to burn.
Yeah, I ain't got nothing to do. Let's, you know what? Grab those 4-hour
Star
movies.
Wars, even though the Star Wars films are not short, because every single one is plus 2 hours.
And we're coming up on 11 Star Wars movies coming next year.
This is true.
That's number 11.
But so, every Star Wars movie is plus 2 hours, but they all break down into trilogies or duologies if you're talking the new ones, which will be a trilogy when it's done. But even then you have the standalones, and you can you could even break it up. Even though there's 11 Star Wars movies in existence, like you can say, well, we're just going to watch the original trilogy. Or if you're a sucker for punishment, you can, I give the prequels a lot of crap, but I still enjoy watching them. I still enjoy watching them. But if you're really feeling like, man, I want to punish myself today, you can
just
pop
watch
in.
Episode 8. No, I'm kidding.
Hey now. Don't get me started about Episode 8. I have really mixed emotions about that film.
It's fun to make fun of because
it is fun to make fun of.
And actually, you know what? What did you think about the report that came out about the apparently the Russians didn't want Episode 8 to do well? So
I'm in favor of blaming the Russians for a lot of things, but I feel like that one was definitely a reach.
Yeah, I just study shows, and I'm like, I couldn't find the study. Maybe I didn't.
My whole thing is this:
long enough.
I understand Star Wars Episode 8 was divisive, and because everyone has taste and they have what they want to see, especially in a franchise like Star Wars that's sort of near and dear to everyone's hearts. I understand why people didn't like it. I personally, I have some gripes with it, but I have gripes with everything. So
you do nitpick.
I nitpick. I like to nitpick. But I always like to caveat my nitpicking doesn't mean I didn't like it. And I actually, I really enjoyed Episode 8, and I loved the sort of, we had all of these preconceived notions of what it was going to be going in.
Oh, absolutely.
And I really thought they might just rehash
the
Empire.
Theory crafting was just nuts.
And now they did take elements of Empire, which was to be expected. Yeah. They're sort of, you've got to play up that nostalgia bit.
Right.
Some. Right. I mean, even Attack of the Clones ends very similarly to Empire.
Attack of the Clones ends a lot happier.
It ends happier, but you still end with Count Dooku gets away.
Yeah.
Anakin is maimed. Obi-Wan, like if they had...
Anakin also gets married.
He does get married, but that was just because George Lucas wanted to...
marriage.
He wanted to shove that Thornbird's love story down our throats.
I mean, he kind of had to after going like, Anakin and Padme had kids.
I know,
and
it just bothers me how forced it felt.
I mean, I just wish that someone had maybe not the balls, but like the authority to tell George no on a couple things.
Exactly.
Because I mean, like Jar Jar could have been refined to a much better character.
You could have not made him a caricature of people indigenous to the Caribbean islands, in a really, really kind of low-key...
That was very PC. That was very
offensive PC. Way. Look, Jar Jar was a misstep. No one is saying Jar Jar was not a misstep.
No, and I will say I feel really bad for the guy who played Jar Jar him, because he is a very good Broadway actor.
He's fantastic, but now he's like, hey, he has to deal with the baggage of...
Yeah, no, he puts I was in a Star Wars movie, people go, who were you? And he goes, I'm Jar Jar. Well, you can't do anything. And it wasn't him. Like, I mean, if you look at the physical acting that he did, if you turn off the volume when you watch Star Wars and look at the physical acting that he was portraying, he does an amazing job going through the motions of what he was directed to do. He was a clumsy, bumbling, somehow successful dude,
kind of oafish.
And when you think about how much technology was used, yes, it was beautiful at the time. We're talking about 1999, but I mean, you end up looking at these guys, and you got top of the line actors like Samuel L. Jackson, like Liam Neeson, acting against green screens. I don't know how easy it is for you to use your imagination to act. But, I mean, it can only go so far.
When, that's one thing I'm glad with the new Star Wars movies they've started doing again is using real...
Right.
Yeah. Like, they've scaled back the green screen. And green screen, sure, it was very, very convenient. And it's a lot easier.
And in The Matrix,
Oh yeah,
were absolutely astounding.
Awesome.
Like I can't even talk about it. Like
when
came out in
I feel like
1999.
for the Matrix, it works a little better doing a lot of green screen and stuff because it's supposed to have an artificial digital feel, and whereas for Star Wars, I've always liked the approach on Star Wars films of using real scenery and then touching things up with CG because we have all of these places. You need a lush green forest. We can find a lush green forest to film in.
Can we? I mean, are you sure we still have a couple of those left in the world?
A few. I mean, what they filmed most of the Tatooine scenes in the original trilogy in Morocco, right? Or was it Tunisia?
Tunisia, because that's where they filmed. The stuff in 7. What was the planet called? Jakku. That's where they filmed Jakku, was back in Tunisia. Because J.J. Abrams wanted to get that feedback. Yeah.
And I think the new trilogy has some of the best looking Star Wars planets and sort of overall aesthetic that we've seen. And it comes from, like they built scale model X-Wings and crazy stuff like that.
And that comes back to them using What a Workshop out of New Zealand. If you guys don't know who What a Workshop is, look them up. They did everything for Lord of the Rings.
Crazy.
They built mega miniatures. Basically, like, they built a 2-scale Helm's Deep that you could walk through and film in.
Yep.
Absolutely amazing.
They're insane.
They've done countless things since. I know they did the Peter Jackson's King Kong. I know they did the Incredible Adventures of Tintin. I think was that the name of it?
Wasn't Tintin animated?
Yeah, it was Tintin, but they still did a lot of the scaling.
Oh, really?
For everything, so
I didn't know
get
that.
It right to size.
Tintin, low key underrated.
Oh, absolutely! Completely underrated animated film. Not for the younger kids.
No.
But a fantastic PG-13 movie.
And I think that was why Tintin didn't get as much clout as it should have, was because they didn't market it properly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if I took my 6-year-old in there and they're shooting guns and the captain's drunk half the movie and I'd have been like, whoa.
Well, it's a good thing you don't have a 6-year-old.
Exactly.
So, all right. So, what was the first video game that got you hooked on playing? Because I look back and I think it's got to be, for me, Spyro the Dragon got me hooked on video games. Like just playing them and hey, I can be in my own world. But I think the very first game that really opened my eyes to the concepts that can be portrayed was the first time I ever played Mass Effect. Because I had been playing games up until that point. It'd been Call of Duty, it'd been Halo, and the story's great. I played games for the story at that point. But I went to a buddy of mine's house, and he actually ended up being my first dungeon master a couple months later. But I just went to his house after church one day, and I was like, "Hey man, can I borrow this game? I've never heard of this game before." And it was the Xbox 360 version of Mass Effect. And he goes, yeah. And I asked him how it was, and he goes, you know what? It had an incredible story, great graphics, but the combat was a little wonky. And I went, you know what?
That first Mass Effect game's combat was.
It took me 3 weeks to put it in my machine.
Really?
Yeah, I just kept playing other games, but as soon as I did, I could not put it down. I was hooked with the story at the Reapers. That first mission, I was just like, I have no idea what I'm getting myself into, because I had played a few BioWare games before, and I know this is sacrilege, but the first time I tried playing Knights of the Old Republic, I couldn't get out of Terrace. I had no idea what I was doing. It's one of the greatest games of all time, and I bought it, and I went, oh, Star Wars, I'm going to play this. And I had no idea what to do. I would get lost. I didn't understand. Maybe my head just hadn't wrapped around the fact that there's a map, and you can use the map, because I was just these all look the exact same. How is it different? There was no pointer, no guide, or you could go wherever you wanted to.
And there was a lot of freedom.
Yeah, and it screwed with my head, because I couldn't remember where exactly to go back. Now I can play through Terrace like that with my eyes closed. I know exactly where to go. I can do it in what's the minimum? 5 hours you can do you can do Terrace now. But that first Mass Effect, though, got me hooked. Because by the time I had already played Mass Effect 1, Mass Effect 2 was coming out in like 2 months. So that was how long like it took me to finally get around to playing it, because it was already in the bargain bin.
Well, so the thing about Mass Effect was it had some of the most effective world building in a video game, because it's a totally original story, not adapted from anything. The worlds are original, the species are original, even the political and socio-economic, all of the different things that play into it. It's so well fleshed out. I mean, in Mass Effect 2, you're talking about like the Krogan genophage and like all that stuff. You're like, whoa.
So many just things that just continuously hit you and in the heart, and every game does it.
Mm-hmm.
I actually got to say that one of my favorite features wasn't the combat, wasn't the story.
Was it importing your Shepard?
No. Good feature for that. Loved that feature because it actually felt like you were carrying your game through each game, or your save through each game. But I absolutely loved that the codex would read it for you.
Yes.
Because you could learn about the world without having to take the time and just sit there. And so, like, if I ever had a really long day, like oh yeah, because school, long day at school, and I'd come home and I'd put on Mass Effect, and for like the next 2 hours, I would just end up like straightening up my room or cleaning or something like that. And you'd
listen to the codex,
and
read things.
I would just put the codex down and I would just learn about this world and just dive head in first. And I absolutely loved it. Like, it was basically our world in like 200 years with the discovery of a new element that negates the mass of an object the faster it goes.
It's super cool.
It's such an interesting idea, and it was one idea, and then it took our world now at the discovery of this like element, and how would we change our worldview? How would our society change based on this one element?
Even the idea of like being the first human Spectre, you're like now in the fold, and
yeah, and I loved how your captain like was the first like tryout, and he got screwed out of it, and so you're kind of like you got that slight revenge tilt to it a little bit for
Saren was a fantastic villain.
Oh, so good. Oh, completely underrated as a villain.
No, it was a great game.
Yeah, in the way they introduced the Reapers as an overarching villain who were there but not really there. You're just like, man, that's a crazy looking ship, and then all of a sudden you're like, no, it's sentient. You're like, oh no.
So as much as I've been singing the praises of Mass Effect, it doesn't make that list for me though.
Really? Okay.
Because I've always been the kind of person, I really only enjoy playing like RPGs and stuff like that.
That's pretty much my forte now.
And I mean, there's a few like shooters and things. Like growing up, I played Call of Duty because all my friends played Call of Duty.
I mean, that was what you did after school.
I love Halo because Halo had fantastic world building and story.
I want Halo 6 to come back to like the decent story building of Halo. I didn't really like Halo 5.
I think it's very possible that it will.
Maybe that's just me.
And so for me, a couple of games that like made me enjoy games. First off, the Crash Bandicoot series.
Oh,
as a younger kid, I played those games religiously.
I've only ever played Crash Team Racing.
Crash Team Racing is a great game.
It's so much fun. It's so the absolute best
Cartoon
Mario Kart like copy, and it's done perfectly, and it's done on its own.
Exactly. And you have like fun features on the maps and fun items. I love Mario. I love not Mario Kart. Well, I do love Mario Kart, but I love Crash Team Racing. I played like Crash Bandicoot Warped and like the original and like all of the like platforming stuff. That was like my bread and butter. When I was a young kid, and I remember because when I was like 7, and our neighbors, when I lived in South Carolina, the husband, he knew my dad had bought a PlayStation, and my dad like never really used it. And me and my brother didn't really have any games we would play, and so he found out and he bought us the whole box set.
Did you end up just buying like the demo discs that would come with the system? And...
No, he like bought us. He like we just didn't play much. Like we literally had like Madden, and that was all we played. Madden. And
what's wrong with Madden?
Nothing's wrong with Madden, but this is like Madden 03. So like.
Oh yeah. I mean, oh man, I remember playing Madden 99.
I know. When that was when my dad started getting into it, and then we had Action Bass, which was a fishing game.
Man. No wonder Griffin loves fishing.
I mean, look, we're from a place where fishing is a dear thing.
That's right.
But so we didn't have games, and so the neighbor found out, and he bought me and my brother for Christmas. He got us the whole box set of Crash Bandicoot games that had come out up to that point, and so we just devoured them.
Oh yeah,
we played them religiously. But so that's what made me enjoy video games. What really made me a gamer was Elder Scrolls Morrowind.
Oh man. Yeah, man, I'm gonna get chewed out for this by you and by everybody else.
Oh, I know you probably hate Morrowind.
No, I never played any Elder Scrolls until. No, I think I tried. Did I try Morrowind or
Oblivion?
No, I tried Morrowind, and I couldn't get out of the main area.
Oh, it's
brutal. This is like a reoccurring thing for me. Though.
You can't find your way out of the first
area. Like, cause that was what happened with Fallout 3 for me too.
Come on,
because no, I'm like cool. This is an open world. I can do whatever I want. And so the first thing I do is I shoot at the robot, and then the save happens right after I did that. And then
you were just on an infinite feedback loop of getting murked by this robot,
freaking cowboy robot. That might actually be New Vegas, which I played more of since, but I have a problem getting through games apparently.
Bethesda RPGs are what kind of pulled me into it. And I'll admit, Morrowind, when I first played Morrowind, I had to be maybe 12 or 11 the first time I played Morrowind. When you finally got your hands on I got it when it was like, it wasn't new, but it wasn't old either. Like now you think, man, Morrowind. Like I remember looking at it and even still thinking, man, these graphics are kind of cool. Like,
oh gosh, and it
was hard.
When all of these games came out, their graphics were on point.
And as a kid, it was hard to play. Yeah. Like it wasn't like it didn't coddle you. And
yes.
I had a tough time with it, but I just enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the lore, and I enjoyed running around and doing things. And so then when Oblivion came out, I bought Oblivion the second it came out. I beat the game over a week. Like I just literally sat down and I played as many side quests as I could, and I played through as much of the game, all that I could. And then they started releasing expansion packs. The
expansions, man,
and the expansions were as big as the first game was.
Yeah, exactly. Like they
Shivering Isles. Game. Shivering Isles was actually there was almost more to do in Shivering Isles than there was in the original Oblivion. So I played Oblivion for years.
Well, I mean, whenever Bethesda comes out with a game, whether it's Skyrim, or Elder Scrolls, or whether it's Fallout, or their new IP that they're coming out with, a space IP, which I'm very excited about. I wanted them to announce something about that in E3. No word. Just it's just a memo that came out in I think March, saying we have a space IP coming out.
But you can't touch Bethesda when it comes to RPGs. I mean, BioWare gets close.
BioWare gets really close. But I mean, they've given up on Mass Effect, so there goes their space RPG.
Exactly. They're
pushing Dragon Age out. I think they're coming.
And I enjoy Dragon Age, but it's not Elder Scrolls to me. They're different games.
Dragon Age Origins really did it for me. Dragon Age 2 was kind of a letdown.
And that was how it was for me.
But Inquisition, I loved Inquisition.
I still need to play Inquisition.
But I mean, when Bethesda comes out with a game, though, you can bet that the extra $20 to $50 on that season pass is gonna be worth it.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Other companies, you buy a season pass and you're just kind of like, well, maybe I'll get some new skins, maybe a few new weapons, who knows.
Yeah, and that's my problem why I haven't bought Red Dead yet, is because I'm not sure.
I'm invested. I have to play it because I played Red Dead Redemption.
I never played the first one.
I played through Red Dead Redemption maybe 3 times.
Well, I mean, I did play Red Dead Revolver, which was quite a bit of a different game.
It's very different. Well, because Rockstar took it and made it a story-driven campaign, which actually, that was why Red Dead Redemption was so fantastic, is because you are invested in a story. It's not just Western GTA. Even though it plays like Western GTA, there's a lot more depth to it. GTA.
And I'm not the biggest GTA fan, but I do love what Bethesda does different.
Mm-hmm.
from them because like I mean we're talking about 3 companies who make RPGs. We've got BioWare, who are extremely like your choice driven.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Bethesda, who do a different way of your choice, because it's just almost like an unending.
Well, Bethesda's good in that they'll railroad you without you realizing you've been railroaded.
It's so open, but they're always like, you just got quests to finish.
Mm-hmm.
Go get quests, and that really like hurts the completionist inside me. And then we've got Rockstar, who literally give you, do whatever you want. We have a system in place so general that you can do whatever you want. Like, there's a story. You don't have to play the story. But if you want to get farther in, like, what you can do, you should. But, I mean, that said, just... I'm really iffy on Red Dead 2 because of what they did with GTA 5.
And so from what I've heard from my folks playing through Red Dead right now, the story's fantastic. Like,
well, our buddy Colby,
he hasn't started yet.
He hasn't started yet. Okay,
he hasn't started yet.
Okay.
But everyone else I know who's playing through it, fantastic story. The graphics are amazing, and
I've seen some
funny because they took away that
great.
kind of cartoon edge the first one had.
Yeah, with some of the movements were a little out.
And also, it looks really fun. I still need to play through God of War before I start it. So,
bro, it's so good. And you've got to get Spider-Man too.
I do.
I just downloaded the DLC. Probably gonna play it later today or tomorrow.
Nice.
Can't wait to play the first DLC because the second one's coming out in like 3 weeks.
No, but yeah, so like
pushing it out really fast.
I need to work my way through God of War. I mean, I'm gonna do everything. I'm gonna see how close to 100% I can get before I get bored with it. I mean, at the very least, fight all the Valkyries and do all that.
I have 3 platinums in my PSN. 2 of them are from games that came out this year: Spider-Man and God of War. And it's just so good. The Valkyries are amazing. The boss fights are fantastic. The story is elaborate and covers so much. And there's a lot of misdirection that happens, and you're just
and it's open for more.
Yeah, absolutely. God of War 2 has already been confirmed. I give it 3 years maximum. Before.
Well, I like them taking their time.
I think 2 years minimum, but I could see it. I could see it taking 5 years before another one comes out.
I don't mind them taking their time.
They spent a long time on this one.
They spent a lot of time, and the quality showed. I mean, I haven't played it yet, but you don't get that kind of critical acclaim for not doing things right.
Oh yeah. The weird thing about that and Spider-Man is now that Sony and PlayStation are putting out their greatest hits.
Mm-hmm.
I want Spider-Man and God of War to make more money because they deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're at the point almost where they've made everything they can make. And so I'm just like, all right, is Sony going to put him out on the greatest hits? Which I think it might be too soon for them.
Well, so...
Because Sony's had what? Greatest hits just started this year. And Sony's been out for 5 years?
Mm-hmm.
PS4's been out 5 years? And I think next year at E3 we're going to get PS5 anyway, so...
Yeah.
At least an announcement.
We probably will. And then my final game, because we've got Crash Bandicoot.
Yep, Crash
is what got me
Morrowind.
First playing. Morrowind is what made me a gamer. And then the game that made me just enjoy the fun of games, because before I was just a grinder. Like, I just like to grind and just do everything.
Yeah.
Because it was there in front of me. But the game that I just enjoyed playing is one summer I was visiting my cousins in LA, and one of my cousins, he had like a game room set up, and he had all of the Prince of Persia games from the original run.
Oh man.
Prince of Persia, Sands of Time, Warrior Within, Two Princes, all 3 of those.
Yeah.
And we ran through those games over that 3 weeks we were in town visiting. We just just blew through them. That's
amazing.
And it was so much fun.
I never got around to playing those. Maybe I should go back and just play have a back catalog. couple days.
They're worth running through because the combat was super fun. It's just a button mashy slasher.
Yeah.
Like
it's a puzzle game.
You can run up walls and do all kinds of crazy acrobatic stuff. Like when Assassin's Creed came out, I was like, oh man, they
I love Assassin's Creed.
And I love Assassin's Creed too, but I was like,
they totally ripped off.
They borrowed so heavily.
Well, it's same company.
Yeah, so. they essentially they used everything right with the platforming capabilities of Prince of Persia and put them in Assassin's Creed with the occasional, off the wall jump into nothingness for no reason that Assassin's Creed throws at you.
No, not in the water. No.
Where's the last checkpoint? No, I have to tail this guy again.
Yeah. Man, now I gotta do this whole thing. Damn it. Well, we're just about out of time. So, tell them where they can find you and social media or anything that you want to spout off or.
Sure. On Twitter, superfluously J. I don't use it as much as I should. I'll start using it more.
We'll get there. We're just starting out. We're brand new to this, and hopefully just gonna have some more fun.
And Instagram, at Jeremy Reed, if you want to look at pictures of food and concerts.
Yeah, that's pretty much what he does. I'm also getting back on the Twitter thing. You can follow me at Bradley John, and at all the other platforms. Just at Jonathan Bradley. I hope you guys have a great rest of the day and stay nerdy.
Stay woke.